It says we're live. Man, I'm looking rough. Nobody watching yet. Well, we got one person watching. Whoever my one fan is here, let me know in the comments if you can hear me all right, and if it's glitchy or anything. Trying a new location in the house. Yay, we got two people, and you guys can hear me. I am still feeling kind of rough, so my voice might be a little weird. Sorry about it. I'm obviously looking pretty rough too. So I'm pretty sure I had COVID again, and it wasn't nearly as bad this time, but it still sucks. Um, looks like we're good on the sound. Cool. I'm using an Apple product computer here. I'm using my. I do always look rough. Uh, I'm using my wife's Apple, whatever these fancy things are. So I've been trying to learn myself on on these things here. So if I make a mistake here, that's why. So while I let some people roll in here, I'll answer the only question that I had for somebody that wasn't going to make it on the live feed tonight. This is RHDB16. It says, legit question coming from gas world to diesel. Traditional anti lag is obviously not a choice. So, is there a diesel equivalent without slipping the shit out of the clutch, or just get RPM up for shaft speed and hit a bit of spray to help spool out of the hole? Uh, I think I understand what he is asking there. So no, we don't have any way of doing like an anti-lag. We can't really like cut cylinders with a diesel to help get the popping and banging going to help really spin the turbine wheel. So pretty much you have to do it all with RPM, load with the converter, and nitrous. So if you go, if you find your way to this video later, and if you watch some of my older videos where I talk about spool ups and stuff, like especially the most recent one about the AFC tuning and that sort. Like, go watch some of those spool up videos, and I think you'll have a better understanding of how you have to do it with a diesel. Apple virus. When are you going to put a wastegate on the truck? Trent Mast asked. As soon as it gives me data showing me that I have to. The one of the purposes of going with the 108 turbine wheel in the 115 exhaust housing is to give me more exhaust flow. So technically, I should have less drive pressure. Given if I leave all my setup the same as far as fuel consumption goes, I should have less drive pressure. So the question is going to be: is it going to be enough less? And that's where we'll just have to see when we get it to the track. So I didn't want to go making a bunch of changes. The lazy way to do it would have been to put a wastegate on it while I had the turbo off, just because I was halfway there to getting the manifold off. But I want to see one change at a time type deal. DFB 1990. I have a couple questions off your mechanical fuel pump video from last night. What return PSI check valve do you run? Is the hole in your return banjo bolt larger than stock? So the high-speed check valve is from Scheid, and it's supposed to be a 60 psi, but I've seen fuel pressure as high as like 88, 87 psi before at like 5,000 plus RPM. It honestly it maxes out at like 3,000 RPM. So if you look at my logs, like even like a spool up, fuel pressure is way up there. It's 70, 80 psi. So not 100% sure why it makes a little bit more fuel pressure than what the high speed check valve allows it to. But going into the second part of your question, that would be probably because of the overflow valve, the hole in the banjo bolt. I don't know if it's larger than stock or not. It's what Scheid sent me and told me to run. I didn't question it, didn't really care to look at it, so just bolted it on there. So if I wanted to lower that fuel pressure a little bit, I could probably investigate that a little bit more and see what orifice size that hole is, and run that up or down to change the fuel pressure a little bit. But I'm totally fine with the 80 something psi. If it was making 100 psi, or something more than that, like anything triple digits, then yeah, I would want to kind of back that back a little bit. But I talked to Jared at Scheid a lot, and if I ever have any questions, I run it by him, and he said no worries on the fuel pressure. So, and I kind of think that the fuel pressure in the dash 10 lines, along with the big 35 5x35 injectors, I think it helps keep the pump good and happy. The worst thing for a P pump is not having enough fuel pressure, or having too much injector restriction. And that's when a lot of times you see guys that stick a rack and the pump runs away. It's usually one or those two reasons as to why it does that, assuming that the pump is built correctly and everything. Boosted 256. Did you build your motor? Yes, I did. Good friend of mine, Tim Wright. He was a very good diesel mechanic. He taught me a lot of what I know about diesel repair and performance. He was a big influence of me in my early days, and him and I put the engine together. At that time, he definitely knew a lot more about engines than I did, so it was a lot of me learning during that process. But yes, technically, I was hands-on on every part of it. The road cone, love it. Are you going to make it to UCC this year? Yes, that is one of two ODSS events that I 100% want to be at. The UCC deal, I don't really care about UCC, but I like that it gets everybody together. I appreciate that aspect of it. And I usually get to interact with a lot of people like you guys, because just everybody's in the same spot at the same time. So I'll definitely be there. I'll definitely be there with the truck, assuming everything goes good. But yes, I will be there. And then also, I plan on being at the Bowling Green ODSS race this year too. That's kind of like a throwback to the TS days, and that was my favorite event ever. So I definitely don't want to miss anything that happens in Bowling Green ever. James Neary, if it's the same as the Scheid A pump, it is a flow rate issue. I run dual check valves on my pulling tractor. I'm not sure. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know any of that. I've had two injection pumps my whole life as far as my high performance life. I've had a 14 millimeter 8600 pump, which I had the same fuel system plumbing setup on it. And then I've had this 13 millimeter P7100. So not sure how those compare to an A pump. Any big plans for a different motor or anything since you're selling the spare motor? So that was never really like a spare motor. That was more of that's like an 800 horsepower street motor. And it sounds like that is sold. But we were going to keep that, put it in my wife's truck at some point. But just time, and it's like probably not going to ever happen anytime soon. And really, that truck is so nice and complete that it would almost be a shame to, I know as lame as this sounds on a bunch of diesel people on here with me, but it would be kind of a shame to cut that truck up and put a diesel in it, just because it is so complete. And we drive it a lot. She drives it all the time, and she likes it the way it is. Honestly, I like it the way it is. So just getting rid of that engine to kind of get some, save some space and get some money. So as far as building a different motor, nothing in the future, no plans. I haven't, in my opinion, even really explored what this engine is capable of yet. I am still very much just in the safe learning stages of everything. And I'm hopefully, by the end of this year, I'll be at a point where I'm starting to make some power with it and being able to use that power. There's just been no reason for me to try to go out there and turn it up right now because, I'm not going to learn anything doing that. I'm going to risk tearing it up. So I like to play it safe and then see how far it'll go. I think that it'll go 1700 relatively safely, but I think like 1800 it'll probably start playing fire, but I can go plenty fast with that. So I just mainly just, want to see how fast I can go with what I got. One more fuel pump related question. Nylon AN lines versus PTFE lines for fuel plumbing. Appreciate all the info you put out. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys watching it and glad you guys are liking this stuff and finding it helpful. There's no reason to use PTFE lines. I honestly have never really looked into PTFE much. I was actually just having a conversation with my buddy Jordan Newman, that common rail truck I'm working on, about PTFE lines. And apparently the benefit of them is that you can run like 2,000 or 3,000 PSI of pressure through them. And so we're looking into doing a set of those for his power steering pump. But regular AN nylon lines are totally fine for anything fuel or oil, anything really that's going to be under like a couple hundred psi. Like if it's 300 psi or less, like I wouldn't worry about regular AN lines at all. My mom's watching. I got to be on my best behavior, you guys. Are your DIY trans kits street friendly, not for daily use, but often? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Any of those kits that you see online are daily driver type stuff. The stock to 300 horsepower, the 4 to 500 horsepower, that would be like the entry level 2.0. The bracket racer is like the 600 horsepower stuff, which is also a great towing setup. And then that 800 horsepower build, any of that stuff is 100% daily driver type material. Scott Spalding. Saw your 4748 RE video today. Can I get a manual valve body for a 47RH? Who do you recommend for a custom converter to run with a 6.1 Hemi? That's a good question. I've actually had a couple people reach out to me over the years about the gas stuff. The converter part of that's kind of weird. I know that Gearin does offer, or I should say did offer, some sort of higher stall gas converter in the past. I'd have to talk to James and see if that's still a thing. Probably on the converter side of things, I would think that you'd want to call a company like maybe FTI, just because FTI does do diesel converters, but their main business is doing, gas converters. So they might be able to build you a converter with the correct input and everything that would suit your stall speed needs. And then as far as the manual valve body for the RH, yeah, that's not a problem at all. Assuming you have the governor tubes plugged in the overdrive piston, you can put an RE valve body in it, or an RH valve body at full manual. It really doesn't matter. So yeah, that's no problem at all. And you could get one of those from me or from Gearin, but the converter, I might look into FTI with that one. Take a break here. Take a drink. Boosted 256. So I'm a 4748 RE, new build. What is line pressure you would run 1 through 3 with lockup off? What like valve body do you have, and what's your converter? But to blanketly answer that, and also kind of your horsepower too, but like 180 is totally fine at wide open throttle, 1 through 3rd unlocked. And then, when it locks, you're going to see a little bit of dip in line pressure there for a second, but then line pressure should come right back to the 180, depending on, what valve body setup that you've got. But yeah, anything, 180 is good. guess I've been answering everybody's questions in all these videos. We don't have many questions tonight, or I'm just answering them too quickly. Look back through here, make sure I didn't miss any. So, in the meantime, while we're waiting to see if anybody else has any questions, I've been thinking about doing a Patreon. If you guys don't know what a Patreon is, it's basically like I jokingly say it's like an OnlyFans for like people that aren't doing OnlyFans stuff. But basically, it's like a place where you can go and like have like one-on-one conversations with the Patreon people and do live feed stuff like this, and it'd be have a small subscription fee, and really the point of that would be if you guys wanted to get like super super technical with some stuff. I know a lot of the YouTube crowd, even though my channel is mainly education, I do realize that there's a lot of people that really just come to the YouTube stuff just to see the action. They want to see the four-wheel drive burnouts and they want to see the scoreboards get blown down. They like the technical stuff, but maybe they're not like super interested to where every one of my videos is so technical and it bores people. And I talk a lot about a lot of what I do and what I know on the YouTube. I try to be as transparent as possible. But this would be a space to where, like, if you really wanted to get like into some technical stuff, that would be like the place that we could talk about it. And I would do something like everybody would get like first dibs at any new parts that were coming out, anything that I had going, anything that Garen had going, and we do have some stuff cooking right now. At some point this year, we got some stuff coming to the 47, 48 platforms. It's going to be a big deal. So just putting it out there. I might be doing a little Patreon deal. Probably be like $5 a month. And honestly, like I guarantee that I could give you guys $5 a month worth of information, even beyond what I do here on YouTube. There's a lot that goes into all this information that to learn it costs a lot of money. And I think that if I had the opportunity to learn some of this stuff for $5 a month, I totally would have taken it. So just something to think about. Okay, I better get back to questions here. All right, I'll follow up on boosted 256s. Full manual kit, constant pressure, 190 on lockup, PTC converter, 3000 stall. I didn't know PTC made a diesel converter. Yeah, 190 PSI on lockup. That's perfect. Golden. Run it. DFB 1990. How's your new welder been treating you? I want to learn to TIG weld. Everlast is high on my list. It's nice. Oh, excuse me. In some ways, I like my Lincoln more. The Lincoln had a much cleaner start to the weld. The Everlast is a little but I can't necessarily blame that all on Everlast. That could be some of the way that I have it set up. I'm still kind of learning it a little bit. I need to take my buddy Chris Maston up on his offer to give me some tips on that thing. But other than that, like I really like it. The pulse setting is something that I use all the time. And on the pulse, I like that I can tune like how, not just the frequency of the pulse, but like the amperage in which it starts and stops. And so it's I would say it's making me a better welder. So far, I would totally recommend one. James Neary, do you run any additives in your fuel or use special purpose fuel? Yes. So I run only the Scheid fuel that they make. And the fuel that I run is what they call the hottest fuel that they have. It's the stuff that's got the most cetane in it. And they've got lots of lubricity adders that go into it. I don't know what they put in their fuel. I have asked several times, hey, do I need to put any fuel treatment in this thing, when it sits during the winter? And they've told me no. And for the last 2 winters now, I just leave the hot fuel in it all winter, and I have no problems with it. Usually I leave it kind of low at the end of the winter, and then I'll put fresh fuel in it in the spring when I'm ready to start running it again. But that stuff's been good stuff. I really need to do a good back-to-back comparison on number 2 diesel fuel versus that stuff, because I mean it is expensive. It's like 13 something a gallon. So it's like might as well have race gas at that point. But they claim that it spools faster and it smokes less. I do believe both of those statements because when I first started with the truck, I had some 50-50 mix. Like I had their fuel with number 2, and it didn't seem to be as consistent. So I don't know. It just works good, and I haven't really tried anything else. Pressure non-lockup 1 through 3 in between 140 and 150. So you must have a Transgo kit then if your line pressure is going up when you lock up. That's not commonly what I see with the gear and stuff. You can bump your line pressure up a little bit. So that way it's more like you can take it up like 20 psi max. So that way it gets you like 160, 170 unlocked. You just want to keep it under 210 unlocked because you could tear up the second gear band. But gear and valve body would make that better, in my opinion. The road cone. What water injection kit are you running? Do you inject it into the runners of the intake plenum? So it's not necessarily a kit. My buddy Ryan Milliken got it to me. He was going to run it in his blue car, and he decided not to. And he got this from Firepunk. So Firepunk is where the idea originally stemmed from. But basically, it is a small. It holds one bottle of water, and like exactly a little nitrous bottle from NX, and it's like one of their little like Sneaky Pete bottles or whatever. And that is where I put the water into that bottle, and then there's a nitrous solenoid underneath of it, and then you plumb nitrous pressure to the top. So that is the water injection is whatever your nitrous pressure is. So around 850 to 950, depending on what I'm trying to shoot for down track. And then right now I just have one single nitrous fan nozzle that goes to, and that basically just injects the water in a fan form. And I just have one nozzle in front of right before the intake runner, so that way the intake runner kind of distributes it throughout. Some guys do the one water jet in each runner deal, and then I've even heard of some guys that'll take the EGT probes, they'll run 6 individual EGT probes on the exhaust side, and then they'll tune the water quantity based on EGT. I think that's a great theory. I don't think that works in reality. EGT is way too slow to react. EGT is way too sensitive to angles and degrees that I just couldn't imagine trying to tune the amount of water injection going into each cylinder based off of something that's so reactive and so slow as EGT. So I just put it in front of the intake, and I just let the boost take it where it needs to go. And then like how much it uses, I'll do one burnout usually is a few seconds. I turn it on at 50 pounds of boost is when the water turns on. So in the burnout, at least last year, we'll see what it does this year, but I'll come off the foot brake about 40, 45 PSI boost. And so I'm usually doing a burnout for 3 or 4 seconds. And then down track, same deal, turns on at 50 pounds of boost. So say 10 seconds total runtime. I have a 33 water jet or nitrous jet in that. So it's a 33 Orpha size, and it'll use actually about that much water. So if this was full, there'd be about that much left, maybe just a little bit less. So I would say if this is, how many ounces is this? 16.9 ounces. I'm probably using 10 ounces between the burnout and the pass. EGTs are just a number, kind of. JP and I go back and forth for days on that. I don't necessarily disagree. Follow up on the water injection. I have an 800 horsepower 12 valve sled pulling truck. Have been considering adding water injection. How do you pick nozzle size, and how do I know if I should have it? Man, I don't know anything about sled pulling, so don't hold me to any of this. But I know for drag racing at 800 horsepower, I would never even think about having water injection. I know that when you're sled pulling, you're pulling for quite a bit longer. You know, you're probably pulling for 15 seconds or so. Um, the person that I would call and talk to about that would be Kent at Scheid, call the Attica location. He's the big pulling man up there, and he could probably point you in a lot better direction than I can because for 800 horsepower, I wouldn't run any water. That's some good quality H2O. Yeah, the great value. Where's your dad's car at? Anything happening with it? Thomas Z asked. It is in the trailer still. He has not worked on it like he should have. I even got him a master cylinder for Christmas that he has yet to put on that thing. And he is supposed to find 10 pounds of weight out of the very front of the car to get out of it. And he has not done any of that yet. And I know that he is going to want to go back to the track really soon because pretty much everything is open by next weekend. And I'm going to tell him, hey, we didn't change anything. You can't expect to have different results just because you parked the car all winter. It's going to do the same thing it did before. So I'm sure that once the track opens back up, we'll start working on his car again, and I'll get some video stuff of what we do to it. Yeah, he does be slacking. You're right. If my mom's still in here, maybe she'll harass him. I'm getting pretty tired, guys. We might wrap this up here soon. So if you got any more questions, let me know. Maybe next time we do a live video, maybe I won't wait till 9. My thoughts on doing it at 9 were so that the West Coast people could, get in here. Because if it's 9 here, it's 6 out there. And most people get off work at 5, and by the time you get home, and so I don't know. Maybe we'll have to do a different day or something. James Neary. How hard is it to swap a 68 RFE crack case to a 48 RE? I'm assuming we're talking a 4th gen. Swapping to a 48. Firepunk makes a nice kit that basically gives you everything that you need. You'll need to get a 48, of course. Man, 48 cores, they are hard to come by now. Like out of nowhere, like they've been, always expensive, and you always had to pay for one, but it's like you can't even hardly pay good money for one now. Like they're just, I don't know if somebody's bought them all up or what, but they are hard to find. So good luck finding a 48 right now. But basically, engine adapter plate, flex plate, 48 transmission. You got to cut the input shaft down on your transfer case. And then I think, don't quote me on this, you have to check on the Firepunk deal because they've got the kit. I think the drive shafts stay the same. So I think it's relatively straightforward. But then, you got to decide if you're going to run an anteater and a porcupine, or a porcupine and a full manual valve body. It can get expensive. Like pretty much plan on spending it, regardless who you have build a 48 for you, like 13 grand to do that swap. 48 is way better than a 68, but when it comes to towing, I don't know what you do with the truck, but like my 68 has given me so many problems, and I just will not 48 swap it because I love the 6-speed and I love having the exhaust brake, and you lose both of those with the 48 swap, and I just won't do it. Does anyone make an aftermarket new 4748 case? Not available yet. Levon at Firepunk has been working on those for a couple years. Don't know where he's at on them. I just know that they're not ready yet. They're not available. So as of right now, the answer is no. Have you thought about doing anything with a 4BT Cummins? Not exactly like race, but maybe putting one in a truck. No, I hate those things. They sound like a Skytrack. I used to work at this construction company, and we had a rough terrain forklift, Skytrack brand, and it had a 4BT in it, and it just sounds so terrible. Plus, I with running a business and trying to drag race and trying to do some semi successful YouTube in here, like I don't have time for projects. Like that's one of the reasons why, that motor's getting sold and we're not really doing much with her truck just because like, man, between that and life, like it is tough. So no projects in the future. I was the one who was commenting on your video about the fuel system and the pressure regulators before or after the P pump while running the air dog. What about boost controlled fuel pressure? Yeah, my last comment to you, you didn't see it, but the boost controlled fuel pressure, from what it sounds like Greg is doing, that's good for if you're worried about the pump getting wore out over time. If you're trying to save wear and tear on the pump, yeah, that's a good way to do that. It goes back to the argument of, is it worth it for, it could mess up, it could have problems, it could not bring enough fuel pressure in soon enough. There's some tuning involved in that. Kind of goes back to what I said earlier about fuel pressure being so important on a P pump. So for me, especially knowing like how the constant pressure valve body stuff, how well it does in a street driven, daily driven application, I would just run constant, 55 psi, 60 psi pump pressure to that thing at all times, and not really worry about the lift pump itself, unless it starts to give you problems and the manufacturer's telling you that that's why. Is JP's truck going to make it out this year? Honestly, realistically, probably not. Still waiting on an engine for it. Hopefully, here in the coming months, we'll have that. Kind of change some direction along the way on some of that stuff. So it's been very much on the back burner in a lot of fronts. But it's one of those deals, when we put it back together, we're going to not just stick it back together and try to get it back to the track as soon as possible. We're going to take our time and make sure that the weight that it's been down for so long, it will be worth it, and do some updates to it. It's hard to update something that's like already so good. Like the chassis doesn't need any updates at all. The chassis won't need updates for 5 years. It's just that nice. But as far as the power plant goes and everything, like in the control of everything, like we want to make sure that when it comes back out, that it's nicer than we left it before. So we're not in any hurry on it. And in my mind, perfect case scenario, next winter would be a great time for us to like really get after that thing. And so, maybe have it to the track in like 2024. Is swapping a 6.7 into a 48 RE truck cheaper than swapping a 47 into a 6.7 truck? So you're talking about putting the engine in a third gen. Is that cheaper than putting a third gen transmission in a fourth gen truck? Man, probably not. No, I'd say I would think not on that. You're probably better off to do the 48 swap. Are you going to Truck Wars? Is that deal that's in like North Carolina? I think it is. No, I don't really. That's like 13 hours from here, which is crazy because I can be in Texas in 13 hours. It's like as far away in North Carolina as it could possibly get from here. And no, I don't. I really like that singles unlimited class that they have, but you can't run any nitrous for spooling, so kind of out on that deal. I would love to go to the Texas Truck Jam just because they have the back of the track no prep Friday night that they're allowing four-wheel drive to run small tire, and trying to find a race that allows four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive to run small tire in the back of the track is like good luck. Like that might be the only opportunity of the year to get to run something like that. Like you can't even run big tire in back of the track stuff with an all-wheel drive. Like they're pretty much just outlawed. So I'd love to go to that, but it's just not going to happen. It's like April 14th, 15th, and it's in Texas, and I'm not going to be tested by then. And I'm just, not going to put a new combination together and just go out there and try to race. And I'm just, going to waste all that money in fuel anyways, because I'm not going to be competitive. But if you have a four-wheel drive truck on small tires that is decently fast and you're somewhere in the Texas area, go to that, because that's your only chance to run back of the track this whole year, probably. Do you remember what connecting rods are in your motor? Yes, and you're going to make me feel old. They are R&R rods, and a lot of people probably never even heard of those. And that's because R&R was that predates Wagler. So Wagler bought out R&R, and your rods that you're getting now, your Wagler competition rods, are R&R rods. They're virtually identical. It's just Wagler owns them now. But mine were under the R&R name. Thank you for the great advice. Hey, I appreciate that. What's your rear final drive in your truck? Ooh, now you want to talk ratios? It's a 350 gear in the rear. So that, yeah, 350 gear. I'm assuming that's all you wanted to know. The starting line ratio, if you're interested in that, is like 7:31, like 7.31, something around there. And that was with the 28s. Yeah, it was a little bit, or no, I'm sorry, that was with the 29.5s. With the 28s, I think it's a little worse. I think it's like a 770 or something. What you got against R&R rods? Boosted? That's good stuff, man. Scheid ran that stuff forever. They still got R&R rods in the dragster. All right. Well, probably going to call it a night for this one, guys. Thanks for sticking with me through my nasally 37 minutes and counting here. So we'll do this again next April. And if I end up moving forward with some Patreon type stuff, you know that you guys will be the first to know about it. So like always, guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'm going to jump off here. If we didn't get, well, I pretty much got to everybody's comments, so questions. So if you got something between now and next time, save it, and we'll catch you next time.